Okay, hello everyone, welcome once again. As a part of today's session, we'll try to go through with few of the basics that we have in terms of JavaScript. I have already written the what we have to cover in terms of a first session. If you would like to see the course content or course coverage that we have, or the complete course content, we generally start it with in the initial stage. We generally go through with the technology that we are trying to use. So in terms of technology, when we talk about either we use JavaScript, TypeScript, Java, Python, and whatever the technology that we have enrolled for. So currently this batch is for Playwright and JavaScript. So here first few weeks, like couple of weeks, we'll be going through with the complete JavaScript from scratch, where we'll go through with the complete details of JavaScript. What is JavaScript? How do we work with? What are the prerequisites that we have in terms of working with JavaScript? How do we create? Uh, how do we generally write the code in terms of JavaScript and so on? Different kind of validation, different kind of properties of the JavaScript, which is data types, variables, operators, statements, which is like if else statement kind of things, loops. There are different kind of loops are available in JavaScript, which is similar to other programming language as well. Those kind of things will also go through as a part of JavaScript. Then we'll go to some of the um, um, advanced level of JavaScript, which will be functions. How do we create a functions? What is the use of function? How do we write? How do we create object? How do we declare arrays? What is the use of arrays? Different kind of methods that are available in arrays. And then we'll see what are the different ways in which we can write string or we can declare strings, the different methods that are available inside the strings. And at the end, we'll also go through, whenever we go through with the functions, we'll try to check what is arrow functions and what is asynchronous concept in terms of JavaScript. Okay. So as our today's session, what I'll go through with it is we'll go through with the installation part of the things that uh, generally what is JavaScript. So we'll try to first our agenda in terms of our first session, which will be for the JavaScript, is to understand what is JavaScript. Then what are the prerequisite that we have in terms of working with JavaScript. So what are the prerequisites that we have in terms of working with JavaScript? So either we write a plain JavaScript code or we try to practice it out some kind of things for the JavaScript. In that case, what are the different criteria that we have to work with JavaScript? We like we cannot directly write JavaScript code anywhere, right? So that in terms of prerequisite, we'll see like what are the different things that we need to be installed in our system to work with JavaScript and Playwright. That we'll see in our later part of our session. And after installation of the required tools and technology that we required installation kind of things. After that, we'll as a part of today's session, we'll try to check like how do we create a JavaScript file, and we'll also see how do we write a first coding, which will be first coding in the sense to print out some kind of things on the console in terms of JavaScript. Okay, so these are the things which we will try to cover up in our first session, which is today, and then we'll keep on continuing on the JavaScript going forward as well. Okay, so now before I start like JavaScript session, from the previous sessions, do you have any kind of questions or anything that you would like to ask or understand as part of course content? Nothing. Okay. Okay. So let's then try to go through with a few of the concept. in terms of JavaScript. Now, what is JavaScript? So, whenever um, we work with JavaScript, we are trying to say the JavaScript that we are trying to use it over here. But what is JavaScript generally? So, JavaScript, in terms of definition, JavaScript is a programming language that allows, that allows any kind of individual, either that is a development team or QA team. If the development team are working using JavaScript, then this will be helpful for them in terms of creating some kind of interactive web pages, right? So whenever you see any kind of web pages available on the application, on any of the internet, let's say for example, this is one of a page that we have. This is one of a page that we have. This is another page that it has given in terms of, let's say, this one. So all these things that have been developed using JavaScript. Like there are different kinds of flavors in terms of technology for JavaScript. There are AngularJS, React.js, Vue.js. All those are a part of JavaScript itself. So by using the technology that the web application have been developed. So by using a JavaScript, anyone can develop a web application. If we are trying to work for in terms of automation part, then we can utilize the JavaScript to write the code, to write the test automation scenarios as well. Okay, so in a simple and a plain language or a layman term, JavaScript is a technology. It is generally used to be a core technology for the World Wide Web. That means any of the application that it is getting developed, whatever the application that you see in a real time on the internet or wherever you see, that those applications will be developed using JavaScript itself. Not the pure JavaScript, but that can use like AngularJS, which is Angular JavaScript, React JavaScript, and so on. Okay, now okay, so we know that what is JavaScript. It will be helpful for us in terms of writing the program, writing the code, which we can utilize for writing the test automation. Now, where do we write JavaScript? Can we write JavaScript in the notepad itself and execute from here? That is not possible, right? Can we just write JavaScript on the internet over here itself? Okay, let's create a page over here and write the code over here. That is not possible, right? Can we write inside let's say, a Word file and then execute it from here? No, that is not possible at all. So to write some kind of things or to utilize some kind of values, which can be helpful for us in terms of execution, user friendliness, where it can navigate to whenever we try to execute some kind of things, it appears the result as well at some point of time. So that for that we require some kind of requirement inside our local system. That means we need some kind of storage available inside our application, inside our local system, where we can write the code, execute the code, get the result, whatever we have written the code for. Okay. So to work with JavaScript, we have some kind of prerequisite. What is meant by prerequisite? That means before we start writing the JavaScript code or before we start using JavaScript technology, we need to have some kind of system requirement available in our local system. Now, what is local system? This is something which is a local system. This is an application. This is basically a system that I'm currently on, which is a window application that I'm using. For this window application, for this window operating system, we need some kind of prerequisite, some kind of installation where it can identify the code that we write using JavaScript and later on by using Playwright. Okay, so how our system, or whatever the system, either you are working MacBook or you are working on Windows operating system or Linux, so how it will able to identify that I am trying to write a code which is in JavaScript. or I am trying to write a code which is in some other language, right? So for that, we need to have some kind of system, some kind of library, some kind of jars, some kind of tools that have to be available inside our system to work with any of the technology that we use in general. Now, if I talk about Java, so for Java, we install like JDK, right? Java Development Kit. Why do we install? So that whenever we write our code, our system will able to identify that we have written the code in Java language. In the same way, for JavaScript, we need to install Node.js first. Okay, so as I was talking about the prerequisite, so we have to install in our local system. Where do we have to install? In the system that we are working on. Either you're working on laptop or any of the desktop. On at that point, inside that system, we have to install few of the things. So what is the prerequisite to work with JavaScript? First, we have to download Node.js. Okay. Now, what is Node.js? Why do we require Node.js? Right. You might be having a question. Okay, I'm trying to work with JavaScript. Why do I install Node.js? Right. So whenever we work with Java, we generally install JDK, and JDK automatically install JRE as well. So what is JRE? JRE stands for Java Runtime Environment. And why do we need JRE? Because whenever we write our code in Java language, JRE will help us to execute our code and return us the response, whatever the response it is returning us, right? If you people have any kind of questions, you can stop me in between as well. So JRE stands for Java Runtime Environment, which runs the code that we write in terms of Java language. Now, in the same way, Node.js is known as JavaScript Runtime Environment. This is also known as a server. Node.js is a server. Node.js is also a tool which help us in executing the code that we write using JavaScript. Node.js is similar to JRE that we have when we work with Java. If you people have already worked on Java, then you might be knowing like what is JRE, what is JDK. If you have not worked on any of the tools and technology previously, do not worry for that. So Node.js over here basically help us in executing our code, whatever the code that we write in terms of JavaScript. Okay, so I've provided you the document access. Most of the people have received this document. You can go through over here as well. I have given the definition of Node.js. Um, Node.js is an open source cross-platform. That means we can write our code in Windows operating system, and the same code will also work on MacBook, which is like Mac operating system. The similar code will also work on Linux operating system as well. Okay, so it is an open source cross platform tool and is also known as backend JavaScript runtime environment. Okay, as I was talking about, this is similar to JRE, Java runtime environment. Here, this Node.js known as JavaScript runtime environment, which basically help us that runs on different versions. That like JavaScript have different kind of versions. The recent one it is known as V8 engine, which runs our code on so and so engine and executes the JavaScript code outside a web browser. Now, what is meant by this? So Node.js is basically working as a JavaScript runtime environment, which is helping us to execute our code, whatever the code that we write by using JavaScript language. Okay, so that is why we also require a Node.js to be installed in our system. If Node.js will not be installed, then whatever the code that we write by using JavaScript will not be useful because we'll not be able to run the code that we have written using JavaScript. So the first and important things that we have to install in our system is Node.js. Second we required is npm. npm stands for Node Packaging Manager. Now, what is the use of npm? npm generally, basically, it will manage the application that have been developed using JavaScript and Node.js. So the use of this will be this will be helpful for us in terms of installation. If we are trying to do some kind of installation, at that point of time will be helpful for us. This npm will be helpful. It basically manages all the packages that have been developed using JavaScript and Node.js. Okay, now we do not have to separately install this npm. Now we do not have to separately install this npm. npm will automatically be installed along with the Node.js installation. So whenever we install Node.js, npm will automatically install as a part of Node.js. Yes, Manasi.
It means if we install the Node.js, we do not require the separately install the JDK, right?
To work with JavaScript, we do not even require JDK to install in our system.
Okay. Okay, so it means only Node.js is sufficient to handle the all over JavaScript code.
Right. Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. So the main important things to work with JavaScript is we need to have Node.js installed in our system. And along with the Node.js, as we install JDK to work with Java, and JRE will automatically be installed in the same way over here as well. We have to install Node.js to work with JavaScript, and npm will automatically be installed. We'll install everything over here, whatever I'm trying to discuss, and we'll see like how it is, how we can confirm that everything have been installed in our system properly or not. Okay. So npm, as I said, stands for Node Packaging Manager, is a package manager for the JavaScript programming language. It is the default package manager for JavaScript runtime environment, which is Node.js. As I said, whatever the application or a package have been developed by using Node.js and JavaScript will be managed by npm. That's where it stands for Node Package Manager. I believe someone has raised a hand. It's Abhishek. Yes.
My voice is audible, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So just one question here. Do we need to add the global environment in this JavaScript, like when we install the Node.js? Do we need to
Right. Right.
configure the
So
global
Abhishek,
environment?
I'll just say like wait for a couple of more minutes, and then we'll talk about this kind of question. So whenever we install,
Okay.
I'll talk about that as well.
Okay. Sure. Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
great. Okay. So we are currently talking about what we have to install. We are still not on the installation part. Now, second things that we have is Visual Studio Code Editor. So second prerequisite is that where we can write our code, where we'll be generally writing our code, right? So we need to have a place where we write the code. If you have worked on any of the other tools and technology earlier, you might be knowing that, let's say, if you have worked on Java or Python, you might have used IntelliJ or you might have used Eclipse for some kind of practice purpose as well, right? So what are those? Those are generally known as editor. Editor means it used to be a tool where we write our code. That is also known as client. That means we are trying to write our code at some places. Okay. So in terms of working with JavaScript or working with TypeScript, we have a very user-friendly editor known as Visual Studio Code. Okay, there are different editors available, which is Eclipse, IntelliJ, PyCharm to work with Python, to work with Java and C Sharp or .NET, we can use Eclipse or IntelliJ. For working with JavaScript, we can use Visual Studio Code, which is very friendly and have been developed for JavaScript and TypeScript itself. Okay, this Visual Studio Code have been developed and managed by Microsoft. Playwright have also been developed and being managed by Microsoft itself. Okay, so these are the two things. One is editor, where we'll be writing the code. As I said earlier, we cannot write any of the code in Notepad, or we cannot write inside a Word document, or we cannot write inside any of the file and then try to run our JavaScript code. So for that, we need some kind of editor. And that editor, in terms of JavaScript, we'll be using Visual Studio Code. Okay, I have already installed some of the editors over here that I have, which is this one. If you see, this is known as Visual Studio Code. We'll see in our session as well, as soon as we install. Okay, so these are the two things that we need to install to work with JavaScript. Okay, so let's go ahead and start installation of the tools that we have, which is Node.js and then Visual Studio Code. The installation part is also very easy. The first thing that we'll be installing is Node.js. So how do we install Node.js? Whatever the browser that you are using, you just need to have internet, as I definitely believe you people have. That is why you have joined the session. So you can go to any of the browser, whatever the browser that you are using, you can go to the browser and then just type it out, download Node.js. Download Node.js. If you're trying to install side by side, you can install side by side as well. Like as we are talking over here, you can try to install if you are interested in installing. So you just have to type download Node.js and hit enter. This will display some kind of results over here as usual. So we have to go to uh, like we basically have to go to a Node.js website, which is also known as nodejs.org. You can click on the first result itself, which says Node.js, download Node.js. You can click on this. It will take us to the package manager, which we can see in terms of URL as well. So this will take us to the Node.js where it is stored, and from here we can install Node.js. Okay, so for that, to install Node.js from here, we can go to pre-built installer. Here you can see we can go to a pre-built installer on this particular tab. Click on this, and this will display the latest Node.js available in the market, which is stands for version which is 22.12.0, and it is saying LTS. LTS stands for latest stable version. Latest stable. Okay. The current version that is currently going in the market is version 23.3.0, which have been marked as current. It has not been written as LTS over here. The latest version, whatever it will be available in the market, it will automatically detect your operating system. And based on your operating system, it will also automatically select the operating system that it is displaying inside this particular dropdown. Okay, if you're working on Mac OS, it will automatically select Mac OS over here. If you're working on Windows, it will automatically select Windows from here. Yes, please.
Hey Praveen, so I have Node already installed, but it is 23.3. Do you recommend me to go for the stable version, which you have just mentioned, which is 22?
Not required at all. So whatever the version that you have, you need to have Node.js, which is greater than 18 version. So if you see as part of system requirement, we need to have Node.js, which is 18 plus version.
All right, okay,
If you
then I'll
have
go with
anything which is greater than 18, will help us to write the code.
cool. Thanks, Praveen.
Okay. So now let's say let's go over here where we are trying to discuss regarding installation part. So we'll come to this page, and then there is an option known as download Node.js, and it will also display the version. Okay, you can click on this, and it will start. It will basically start downloading the one of a tool. It basically install a executable software. Okay, it will install. It will basically download an executable software, which will ask us to click on next, 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 and so on. Okay, I already have installed, but I'll again try to install it along with you people. If you are trying to install anything, you can install it from this particular site. So this have been downloaded from the just I have clicked on download Node.js, and this one .msi file that we can see it has downloaded over here. You can click on this and it will open a executable software. So this is known as a executable software. That means it will open a window pop-up kind of, and then from here we can click on few times next button and it will automatically install Node.js in our system. Okay, let's try to see that. So I already have installed, but I'm again trying to show you people that we can install in this way. So here we can click on next. For me, as it is already available, so it is asking me to click on select either change, repair, or remove. Okay, so for me, I'll select it as change. Okay, but for you, it will automatically take you to this particular page. Okay, as soon as you click on next button, it will automatically take you to this particular page. Okay. And then again, you do not have to do anything. You just click on next button and you can check this checkbox with which it says that it will install some necessary tools along with the Node.js as well. You can just check this checkbox and again click on next. And for me, it is asking us to change. For you, it will ask again one kind of button will appear which will ask you for, I believe, next button over here. And as soon as you click on that, it will ask you this kind of permission. If you are still able to see my screen, it will ask you yes or no. Basically, it will ask you the question that do you want to allow this app to make changes to your device? You have to click on yes. And then as soon as you click on yes, this particular things will start in installing your Node.js. As soon as it install or finish installation, after that you will see this particular option where it says completed the Node.js setup wizard. You can click on finish button to exit the setup wizard. You can click on finish, and with this Node.js have been installed successfully. Now, how do I know that Node.js have been installed? What is the proof that it has really installed? So for that, we can check it over here to check whether it is really whether it has really installed or not. We can open the command prompt or terminal. If you're working with Windows operating system, then you can open command prompt. If you're working with Mac operating system, then you can use a terminal. Even in nowadays, in terms of Windows operating system, you can also use terminal. But let's use a command prompt over here. Go to a command prompt. If you're working on Mac operating system, please go to terminal. Open a terminal, and then to check whether it has really installed in our system or not. The Node.js that it has installed right now, whether it really has installed or not, that we have to check it out. How do we check that? So for that, we have to just write this particular command, which is node. Okay, you just have to provide a node space hyphen hyphen version. Okay, you have to just say it as node space hyphen hyphen version. Okay, if you're trying to install along with me, you can try to check it with. As soon as you hit enter, whatever the version that it has installed for us, this version will be displayed over here. If it is not displaying, that means there are some kind of issues. That means the Node.js have not been successfully installed. Okay, if it is not displaying inside your system, that means some kind of some kind of issues that it has encountered at the time of installing Node.js. Okay, so to check whether the Node.js have really been installed or not, you have to write node space hyphen hyphen version. Okay, so this is our first prerequisite. Mithul, I'll just come back to you in 1 minute. This is our first prerequisite. Earlier I said we also need npm. And also I said that as soon as we install Node.js, npm will automatically be installed, right? So let's see what happened over here. So how do I check whether npm has really been installed or not? For that, we have a command known as npm space hyphen hyphen version. So whatever the latest version that are available in the market, that will display over here for npm. So with this, we have successfully installed Node.js and npm in our system. Yes, Mithun.
I installed that, but I like in command prompt, they ask me like press any key. So that opens that administrator Windows PowerShell and something downloading the package and
You
all.
can close that. You can close that. You can close
Yeah, yeah.
that.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, and then you can directly go to the command prompt. That is what I
Yeah, that
did.
software version is showing me that
Hmm,
12, 22.12. Yeah.
great, great. Okay, okay. Any other question that you have?
No.
Okay, great. So with this, we have installed Node.js. Any question from anyone else? Okay. So with this, we have successfully installed Node.js in our system. Now, earlier, Abhishek was asking whether do we have to provide an environment variable. So whenever we work with Node.js, whenever we work with JavaScript and TypeScript, it is not necessary for us in terms of placing inside the global variable. That means environment variable. It do not ask to place it inside. If you want to place, you can place it. But if you do not, if you are not placing inside anything inside the environment variable, still it will work in a proper way. So if you go inside my environment variable by using basically if you go inside this path, you can just see that it will automatically place it like npm over here. I'm using JavaScript for more than 3.5 years. I've never placed this kind of things. So it is not mandatory for us to place uh, Node.js in our system. Okay, but if you want to place it for a safer side, what we can do is this one will automatically place over here, which is npm. You can check it inside your system. If it is not available inside your system, then what you have to go is you have to go to this particular path. Okay, now what is this path? This path will be similar for each and everyone. Every person will have the similar path. Now this path is this is the path that you can copy. If you want to place it by self, then you can copy this path from your system. Go to environment variable, click on the path. Probably you can click on new over here or edit, or you can directly double click on the next available line, and then you can click it over here, place it over here. Okay, but this is again not mandatory. Second, also, if you would like to place this kind of Node.js that I have placed it over here as node underscore home, you can place it inside this system variable as well. This is again not mandatory, but if you want to place it, you can place it inside system variable of environment variable. You can go to system variable, click on new. It will open like this. You can just place it at node underscore home and then the path. This path will also be similar for everyone, which is C, program files, and then Node.js. What is C? If you go inside this, you'll go to C, then you go to program files, and then you'll see. So the Node.js that we have installed will be by default available over here. You can click on this, and then you can select this path and provide it over here if you want to place it. For a safer side, you can place it. You can place like this, which is you can go to you can search environment variable, then click on this environment variable. Uh, Go to this system variable, click on new button. Place the name as in capital node underscore home, and then place the variable value as wherever the Node.js is available inside your system. This is the same path will be available for each and every. I have already placed it over here. If you would like to place, you can place it like this inside system variable. Okay. Does it answer your question, Abhishek? I believe this is what you were trying to ask.
Yep, yep.
I have one
Thank you.
question.
Yes.
Uh, I can't see to add a new in system. It's showing me the disable.
If it is, are you using your organization laptop,
No.
personal laptop itself, right? Okay. So, Mithul, I'll connect with you. I'll see like why it is displaying disabled over here.
Okay. Because I'm
Okay.
going
So
to edit the environment variable for your account.
mhm.
So it's showing me the two that user variables and system variables. So user variables, there's a new edit, there's enable buttons, but
Mhm.
unable disable the buttons for system variables.
No worries, no worries. I'll connect with you separately.
Sure.
Are anyone of here like facing this kind of issues? Anyone of you, which it is saying new edit and delete are disabled? Okay, I'll connect with you, Mithul, separately to check it out.
Sure.
Okay, so this is not required, not mandatory, but you can place it out if you would like to. Now with this, we have installed Node.js. We have also installed npm. Now, second prerequisite is to install Visual Studio Code. Now, why do we require Visual Studio Code? We require a Visual Studio Code to write our code using JavaScript language. Okay, write our code using Playwright. Write our code using either JavaScript, TypeScript, Playwright, or any of the tools that we are trying to write. So what it will do is it will just store our code. Whatever the code that we write, it will store inside our system. It's just you can see everything I have written it over here. So all the values that it will display inside the Visual Studio Code. Okay, so this is known as an editor where we write the code, either a programming or a test case that we'll be writing going forward by using it. Okay, so now let's install Visual Studio Code editor as well. How do we install? The process is same. You can go to any of the browser that you are using. I see you recorded this app, and you can search it over here as Visual Studio Code download, or you can just enter like download Visual Studio Code. Okay, you can press it again. You can click on the first result, which it is saying as code.visualstudio.com. You can click on this, and then based on the operating system that you are using, either Windows, MacBook, or Linux or Ubuntu kind of things, you can click on that particular operating system symbol. So for me, I'm using Windows. If any one of you are using MacBook, you can click on MacBook. If you are working on Windows, you can click on Windows, and this will also start installing a executable file, which will be a setup wizard kind of. It is similar to how it was displaying for Node.js. Within few seconds, it will be able to download. It depends on your internet speed. So we can see like it has it has downloaded an executable. So sorry. It has downloaded an executable file which ends with .exe extension. You can click on this, and it will again open a setup wizard. The similar setup wizard as the similar one that we had seen at the time of uh, installation of Node.js. Okay, that this setup will also ask you a couple of times to click on next, next, next. As it is already available inside my system, so it is not allowing me to again install it. It says that setup has detected that Visual Studio Code is currently running. If you want to install, you have to close all the system. Let me close everything in terms of Visual Studio Code and see if it is allowing me. Generally, if it is already available inside your Visual Studio Code, it might not allow. But let's see after closing all the browsers whether it is allowing me to enter or not. So it is saying like you can click on OK, and now this kind of wizard it will open for you as well. Okay. First, it will ask you to accept the license. This have been developed by Microsoft, so there are some kind of license that it will ask you to accept. You can click on next. Then here it will ask you to whether do you want to add it to the environmental variable. So you can automatically click add to path, and the second, like these two options will automatically be available for you people as well, I believe. Other things that you can check is create a desktop icon. So you can check it. It will create a icon on the desktop, which you can use for launching. That means shortcut icon. I believe I do have like this kind of things, which is Visual Studio Code symbol over here. It will install on your desktop. Okay. And then again, click on next button. And then here it is saying what kind of operation that it will do. It is saying click install to continue with the installation. So as soon as it install, it will install the Visual Studio Code and add the path to the of this particular uh, Visual Studio Code inside your environment variable path. So you can click install, and it will take probably couple of minutes to install complete setup of the Visual Studio Code. So it again depends on internet speed. It will try to install everything that it requires to work with Visual Studio Code. So now, within couple of minutes, it will say that it have finished completing the Visual Studio Code setup wizard. Now it is asking us to click on finish to exit the setup. So you can click on finish, and it will automatically start the Visual Studio Code. For me, I have already used it many a times. So it is displaying like this. For you, there will be a welcome window on the page. For you, you will get like this kind of window where you will get a welcome page on this particular screen. Okay, so this is a Visual Studio Code where we'll be writing our code in terms of JavaScript, as well as whenever we go for automating using Playwright and JavaScript. Okay, so we do not have to validate, we just have to check whether it is launching or not. If the Visual Studio Code is launching, that means launching on your system, that means everything have been installed properly in terms of VSC, which is Visual Studio Code. Okay, so this was the second prerequisite to install to work with JavaScript. Okay, so this is the complete setup that we have done to work with JavaScript. Any question till now? Okay. Okay, so right. So now the next thing, this is the third step is not mandatory, which it is saying install JavaScript editor plugin in Visual Studio Code. Why it is helpful? So whenever we write any code, or whenever we try to write any of the file in terms of JavaScript, it will automatically detect that we are trying to write the code in JavaScript. But again, this is not mandatory. This is a plugin that is available inside Visual Studio Code. So whenever we have to install any of the plugin for a Visual Studio Code, we have to install any of the plugin for Visual Studio Code, we have to go to this particular icon, which is known as extension. These four icons, I'll talk about in a couple of minutes. These four icons will be similar for each and every individual, whoever are available over here. These five icons or these six icons. Apart from that, there are a couple of more things that are available, might not be available for you people. Okay. So whenever we have to install any plugin, these are the plugins that I have installed for my Visual Studio Code. Whenever you have to install any plugin, you have to click on this and search for the plugin that you are trying to install. What we are trying to install? We are trying to install JavaScript editor plugin. So we can just type it out, JavaScript editor plugin. Okay, or you can just type it out JavaScript. It will display you the first one that we have to install, which is it is saying JavaScript code snippet. Okay, I've already installed. You, in terms of you people, you'll get an install button over here. You can click on this. Within few seconds, it will install JavaScript plugin inside your Visual Studio Code. Now, what is the use of this Visual Studio Code plugin or JavaScript code snippet plugin? This extension contains code snippet for JavaScript in ES6 engine. ES6 stands for ECMAScript 6. ECMAScript 6 is known as a JavaScript version, which is a latest version in the market, which have been developed in 2016. That means 2016. 2015 or 16 somewhere, I forgot the date. It have been installed in either 2015 or 16. I'm missing that date. But this is basically says that it will write the syntax inside or for VS Code editor. So this will generally check whenever you try to install this plugin. This will generally check the syntax whether we are writing in a correct format or not. It supports both JavaScript and TypeScript. If we are trying to write our code by using JavaScript or TypeScript, installing this plugin will be very helpful for us to identify that we are trying to write our code in terms of either using JavaScript or TypeScript. Okay, so let's go to a few of the other icons that we have available over here. Yes.
Praveen, I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah, for
Yes.
my project, I have a code runner installed. So is it the same thing?
No, this is not the same thing. Code runner is entirely different. Code runner, you will get like this kind of icon, which will be helpful for us in terms of running the code that we have written.
Okay.
Okay, I'll talk
Just
about
like
that in our
install. Okay.
right.
Okay.
I'll talk about that in later part. Now, we have few other icons available over here. The first one is known as Explorer. This option is available for checking what are the files that are available inside your Visual Studio Code. So if I show you the other project that I have, if you click on this, the project explorer will go off from here. That means if you click on this, what are the files that are available inside our this particular Visual Studio Code? Everything will be displayed over here inside the Explorer. This icon is for searching. If you want to search any of the files or any of the code, you can search it by using this particular search. This is for this is a source code. It is saying that whenever we try to use GitHub or any other version control, it will be helpful for us in terms of identifying that what are the different values that we have already committed, which have not been committed, and so on. This icon is for running or debugging the test cases, and this we have just seen that for installing the extension. If for any purpose, if it is not available inside your system, this icon, which is extension, then you can go to manage, which is a setting icon over here. You can go to extension. This will open the similar things. From here also you can install JavaScript code editor, JavaScript code snippet. Okay, Now, I have already installed, so it is available inside my system. And now the next step in terms of installation that we can see is this is like this. We have already installed a plugin available inside our Visual Studio Code. We'll try to create a first JavaScript file over here. Okay. Now, how do we create any of the file in any of the editor? Let's say we are currently working on Visual Studio Code. So how do we write the code? So whenever we write any code inside our system, that means we are storing inside our system as well. So I have written this particular example. Let's say I have some kind of code that I have written over here, right? So this code are available inside my system as well. So if you see this one, you can go to wherever, whatever the path that it has. It has. So that means I have created one of a folder inside our system, and that folder I have opened over here. So this folder will consist of all the code that we have written till now. Whatever the code that we have written, everything will be stored at this particular place. So if you see in our new Visual Studio Code, it is asking us that you have not yet created or opened any kind of folder. Folder it is asking us to create because we have to store whatever we write in terms of programming or test cases. We have to store that as well at some places in your inside your system. So for that, it is asking us to create a folder. There are two ways in which we can create a folder. One is you can go to a file menu option over here, and then you can um, go to open folder, and from here at any place you can try to create your folder. Okay, if you have already created a folder, you can select it on. This is one way, or you can click on open folder. This will again ask the similar things. Second way is you can go inside your system wherever you want to create your folder. Let's say a document, and I'll create a folder which I'll give the name as, let's say, folder which is JavaScript. I'll also give, like, let's say, Isha, and then we'll give it something like deck, which is December 2024. I've just given some kind of name over here. So I've created a folder, and now to open this folder, we can click on open folder, go to the location wherever we have created, and then select that particular folder. As soon as we select folder, this folder will open over here, which is currently empty. Now, why do we create this folder? So that whatever the code that we write will get stored inside this particular folder. Okay. With this, we are now ready to write our code using JavaScript. We are completely ready to write our code using JavaScript. Okay, let's try to write our first code. Uh, First create a file, then we'll create a simple program which will print some kind of value. Okay, so how do we create a file over here? There are again two options. One is you can go to a file and then you can click on new text file. Okay, this will open this kind of things, and at the time of saving, you can give the name or title of the file that you are trying to create. Second way is you will see some kind of options over here. The first one is saying new file. If you want to create a folder inside this particular folder, you can click on new folder. If you want to just refresh your Explorer, you can click on refresh icon over here. Okay, currently we are trying to create a file. So what is file in JavaScript? A file is something where we'll be writing the code. It is nomenclature. Whenever we try to work with JavaScript and TypeScript, we create a class. In terms of Java and any other programming language like .NET or C Sharp, we create a class. Right? We say it as a Java class. We have created a Java class, and inside that we'll try to write some kind of code. Right? In terms of JavaScript, we say it as a file. Okay, that means we have created a file. It is not mandatory for us to write a code inside the class itself in JavaScript and TypeScript. Okay, so we can create a file, and inside that file, we can write the code and run the code for JavaScript. Okay, so first thing that we require is to create a file. So you can click on this new file, and it will ask us to provide the file name. So let's say I'll just give the name as first program. Okay, now how do we write the extension? Just give me a minute. Someone is knocking at my door. Just give me 1 minute. I'll come back. Okay. Are you people able to hear me? Can someone please answer? Am I audible?
Yes, you're
Yeah,
audible.
yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
Okay.
Audible.
Okay. So whenever we provide the name of the file, we have to first write the file name, and then as we are working with JavaScript, so we have to give an extension known as .js. In terms of working with JavaScript, we have to provide the extension for a file as .js. It is similar to whenever we work with Java, we provide a name as .java. In the same way, whenever we work with JavaScript, we have to provide the extension as .js. Okay. As soon as you provide .js, you can see that it has identified that it is a file that we have created for JavaScript, JS. If you just change it to TS, it will identify that we are trying to create a file which is in terms of TypeScript. Okay. So to work with JavaScript, we have to give the extension which is .js. And you'll see that here inside the file name as well, it is identifying JS, which is saying that we are trying to write our code in JavaScript. Okay, so if you see in our agenda of the session, we also have completed the fourth step, which is creating first JavaScript file. And we'll now try to print some kind of value as a part of first program. Okay, so we have to print some kind of value. How do we print? Print in the sense, print on the console. How do we print anything on the console, right? We have whatever the programming language that you use, every programming language will have given some kind of command, will have given some kind of command to print some kind of value or whatever the value that we are looking out for printing. In JavaScript, we have a command known as, in JavaScript, we have a command to print any value, either a single value or a multiple value. We have a command known as console. Where are we trying to print? We are trying to print on the console. And what we are trying to do? We are trying to do a logging on the console, right? We are trying to do logging. Printing means we are trying to log some kind of value, right? Log in the sense print. So we have a method on the console known as log. Okay. By using console.log as a command, we can print any of the value that we want to print on the console but in JavaScript. So let's say I'll just provide some kind of value in terms of string, which we have declared inside a double quote, and just say it as welcome to JavaScript. Okay, so what did we do over here? We have just written a console.log. Console.log to print the value or to log the value, whatever we have given inside this particular method. This log method will accept a parameter. It can accept a multiple parameter in the array format, which will be separated with a comma separated. If you want to print another things, you can add it over here as well. If you want to again print some other value, you can print it over here. So that means it accepts some multiple elements to print the value on the console. So to print anything on the console in JavaScript, we have console.log to print the value. Now, how do we execute this particular file? We have printed everything, but how do we run this particular file? So one of our colleagues were talking about one of a plugin, right? That I'll talk later, which is known as this one. This is a test runner plugin. If you click on this, it will start running this. But how do we run this code? So for that, we have to go to a terminal inside Visual Studio Code. There are 3 ways. I'll take a couple of more minutes and then we'll stop our session for today. So to open the terminal, we have 3 ways. One is you can see this option where it is saying no problem. You can click on this, and then from here you can go to terminal. This is one option. Second option is you can go to view menu option and then click on terminal. It will also open the similar terminal. And third is you can click on this menu option, 3 dot, then go to terminal and click on new terminal. It will also open the same terminal that we have opened later. So by following any of the 3 options, you can try to open terminal. Okay, we can open the terminal over here. And how do we run the file, or how do we run any of the file in JavaScript? For that, we have a command known as node. As we said, why are we trying to write a node over here? Because known as JavaScript runtime environment, which will run our code that we have written using JavaScript. So you have to provide a command as node and then the file name. What is the file name that we have? The file name is first program.js. Okay, and then hit enter over here. You'll see that
Can't
it is
see your
displaying.
screen, Praveen.
Can't see screen.
Yeah, I can't see your screen. It's coming as
Yeah,
white.
can't see the screen.
Or is it? Let me again share it out. Since when you people are not able to see my screen?
Just now after it
recently.
started to run the program.
Yeah.
No,
Okay, then no problem.
I was
It's
able to see.
Okay,
can
Now
okay,
we can
then.
see.
Okay. So to run the program, okay, to run any of the file, any of the JavaScript file, we have a command known as node and then provide the file name. What is the file name? The file name is firstprogram.js, and you can hit enter. It will display something known as welcome to JavaScript and whatever the value that we have printed over here, 23 and true also have printed. Let's remove as a first program. I'll just print welcome to JavaScript. Okay, so you can see that it has printed as the value on the console, which is welcome to JavaScript. This is how we print. In your case, some of the people might not be able to see this, as it might be asking you to save this particular file. Whenever you write any kind of things inside any of the file, you just save the file. Or if you want to automatically save the file, you can go to a file menu option and then click on this option, which is auto save. Okay, if you do not click on auto save, let's say if I press a space over here, it will display like this kind of circle, which it is saying that this file is not saved. So to save this manually, you have to type, which is Control S. If you want to save it automatically, then you can check this one, this option which is known as auto save. Okay. Again, if you try to run this, it will run in the same way. Okay. So this is what we wanted to discuss as a first session, where we have seen as a recap, where we have seen like what is JavaScript, what is prerequisite, what are the installation that we required. We have installed Node.js, we have installed npm, we have which is a part of Node.js itself. We have also installed Visual Studio Code. We installed a plugin known as JavaScript Editor plugin, and then we have created a file which is in JavaScript and printed some kind of value as a first program. Okay, so any question in this in our today's session? For any questions, if you have, I'm happy to answer over here. Yes, Dipti. Before that, if you are new to the session, please try to share your name and contact number. Will be helpful for us in terms of reaching you and providing you the document. Yes. Yes, we'll go through it one by one. Yes, Dipti, you can start with.
Praveen, I wanted to check with you what is terminal actually, what it does. I see PowerShell, Git Bash, and command prompt. What exactly it does?
So this terminal, whatever you see, this is generally known as also a console, where this is helpful for us in terms of writing the command. What is command now? We can write a command. This is command. Whatever we have written, this is also known as command. Now, what is command? Command used to be something which will help us in installing some of the jars or plugin or some of the files or some of the technology tools and technologies. And this terminal is also known as a console. If you work with Eclipse or any other editor, yeah, that will give the name as console. So this terminal is helping us to run the program, to see the execution, to print some kind of value, and you can visualize those value on the terminal over here. So this terminal is helping in general, in a layman term, terminal is something where we execute some kind of command, where we write some kind of command which will be helpful for us in terms of executing, installing, and writing various other things.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
And why do we use PowerShell, command prompt, Git Bash in the arrow, the drop down?
This one.
Beside plus sign, this here.
Right. These are different part of terminals that it has given. So this is terminal. These are also known as terminal itself. Okay. So earlier we had seen one of our colleague were talking about it has opened automatically a PowerShell, right?
Mhm.
So these are also similar to the terminal itself, where we can write some kind of command. We also have a command prompt. Why do we use command prompt? So we use a command prompt so that we can execute some kind of command, right? So in the same way, this is also terminal will also be helpful for us in the same way as we use for command.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Yes, Rahul.
Yes,
Rahul,
yesterday I created a code, but it is not running, getting error. So I have already a screenshot, but it is not working from my side.
it is not working. You're saying, right?
Can you share my screen?
Yes. Just give me a minute, and then we'll allow you to share. Any other question from anyone else? Okay. Okay. Great. So if nothing else, then thanks a lot, everyone, for joining our session, and we'll continue in the next next session with some other topic.